There's so many progress here. Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am MyssDarkNLuvly, and if it's your first time on my channel, welcome, join the fam. Today I wanted to talk about the best form of transportation when you are in Ghana. But before I get into this video, please like, subscribe. I really appreciate the support and growing the channel because I want the right people to see the content. So let's get into this video. When we first moved to Ghana, we were pretty much using the same form of transportation like everybody else. And most people in Ghana take trotro, which is like a public bus. A lot of people in Ghana do walk as well, good fitness. And some people just do it out of necessity. I'm tired looking at this hill. As I was saying, there are various options of transportation in Ghana. Many people use trotro, but you also have rideshare options including Uber, Yango, and Bolt, which is one of the favorites. You'll also see motorcycles and pragia being used in areas that are less accessible to cars. They are also the fastest and cheapest form of transportation and will get you much closer to your destination because of their compact size. And then you have your own private, transportation. If you have your own car, great. When we first went to Ghana, we were taking taxi for the most part, but I did used to take trotro on my own and also take it with the kids because I wanted them to just get familiarized with taking that type of transportation. My experience taking taxi, it was okay. Most of the drivers were pleasant, but my issue with taking taxi was that a lot of times in the beginning, I never really knew what the right price was supposed to be. I could only go by what they're telling me. But over time, I kind of started to realize that, okay, maybe this is what the price is. So I knew where to go from there. Besides that, most taxis that I took were in pretty decent condition. Some were questionable. Just a side note, I used to want to get in and put my seatbelt on. Several drivers would be like, you don't want to do that because they're just dusty and dirty. Nobody uses them. Taxi, they have a station that they report to and they leave from, so there's a little bit more accountability. If something was to happen, you could probably track down that taxi driver if you can remember the license plate or something. When it comes to taxis, there are two ways you can take taxis in Ghana. You can either take a taxi that's already en route with other passengers in it going towards the destination that you're going to, and the cost is going to be much cheaper. Or you can take it in a form of dropping, which basically means you're getting picked up from your location and being taken straight to your destination. The cheapest way most people use it in Ghana is with the first method, but if you have the means and you want to get to your destination faster, dropping is the way to go. Taxis tend to be more expensive to me compared to rideshare and trotro. Most of the drivers are going to be male. You don't get a lot of female drivers. I haven't experienced it. Uber is definitely the #1 form of rideshare in Ghana. Even if you live in Accra and you live in certain areas that are more remote or a new site type environment, you're probably going to have a hard time getting Uber to get to you. Because if you live in a new site, chances are your roads are not that great. And these drivers, they know the environment and they don't want to come out there to come and get you if they know the roads is going to jack up their car. That was one of the issues that I had with Uber, and I ended up always having to take a taxi. And even them, they would complain sometimes. And then they would try to end up in their charging you a little bit more just for having to take you to that area because they know the roads and they know how far out it is. And a lot of times I understand because if you don't know, I've been an Uber driver myself for about 7 years in the US. And I did do one-day Uber experiment in Ghana. So I understand from a driver's perspective, we don't like to pick up people to take them to areas, especially late hours, that it's going to be hard to get a ride back. There's so many different factors why drivers just don't accept certain rides. And I understand from a driver's perspective, but from a rider's perspective, it was just a big inconvenience. I've had drivers pick me up and drop me off because they refuse to take me to the rest of my destination. and I have to end up taking a taxi with the kids, which is just not ideal. It's not comfortable. It's not safe by myself with 3 kids, you know, in an environment that I'm still pretty new to. Bolt is just like Uber, but it's a little bit cheaper. I don't know, Uber drivers just seem to be uppity up because they're with Uber, whereas Bolt drivers, I feel like they're more laid back and just chilled and just respectful altogether. Yango, unfortunately, I don't have any experience using that service, because even though I used to see and hear ads for them on the billboards, on the radio, anytime I try to use the service, there seemed to be never any cars in my area, and I lived in a pretty busy area. I did used to see a lot of them around the Accra Mall area, so I'm not sure if there's just specific areas that they're more available, but maybe in the future I'll get a chance to use their services. Then I can come back to you guys with an update. I remember when I went to Kwewu for Easter, there was no Uber over there. There was no Bolt over there. All they had was Pragya and taxis and Trotro. That's it. Pragyas everywhere, everywhere. Ultimately, buying my own car was the best decision. It was the best choice for us as a family. Definitely cost-wise, Trotro is the cheapest, but it's also going to take you the longest. Uber is going to be costly depending, you know, whatever time of day. So I'd rather just take that money and put gas in a car and just go, because I have the freedom, the flexibility to kind of move how I want and where I want and all of that. You don't get that when you're taking public transportation. That was pretty much my experience with the different forms of transportation in Ghana. I've been in instances where I'm on the Trotro and the entire door fell. We're driving, they go to drop somebody off, they went to go stop. The mate went to go open the door and the entire door just fell. Before the door fell, the entire windshield in the back area just fell while we were driving, just gone. And everybody acted like it was, oh, you know, it was just another day. People just act like it's normal. These are the types of instances that has happened, and my biggest factor is safety. I feel safer in my own vehicle because I know the history of the car. I know it's getting maintained, and that is why I decided to just buy a car, because at least with my car, I know the condition that it's in. I know I'm going to service it. I know I'm going to maintain it. So there's no surprise. Just a few tips. If you're in Ghana, if you're coming to visit, you're not going to have your own private car unless you come in and do a rental. Most people rely on rideshare and Uber within Accra, the main cities. You're going to be fine. I'm sure you can have access to it when you're in Kumasi and stuff like that. But Uber is not everywhere in Ghana. Even if you look at the map, you'll clearly see it's mostly busy within Accra, Tema, you know, the surrounding areas. And even with that, it depends on the driver if they want to go to wherever you're going or not. So for those people coming into Ghana and living or staying within the main areas of Accra, you're going to be fine. But if you start wandering a little bit outside, or you're living in areas that are remote, good luck getting rideshare service. If you're going to be in Ghana, you're going to be using rideshare. When you send a request and they call you, pick up the phone, talk to them. Every time you send a request, as soon as they get it and they accept it, the drivers will call you to confirm where you are and where you're trying to go. Even if you don't know where you are, and a lot of times that's the case for those of us who are new to the environment, just ask for help if you can, because it will make it easier for you. So you guys can off the bat decide if it's a go or no. But keep in mind, Ghana, when it comes to the address system, they tend to use the GPS location pretty much for everything. If you can put a landmark or something known as your location and just move to that location, that would probably be the easiest way for them. When you're taking rideshare, be patient, because there are going to be situations like that where you'll find yourself sending multiple requests, and it's going to take a while for someone to finally accept. And just make sure you're communicating clearly and they know exactly where they're picking you up from and where they're taking you to, so there's no confusion. Also, another thing to keep in mind, rideshare in Ghana, they pay cash. You can pay with your card if you have a card on file already. And I know a lot of people, when they're coming from abroad, they have their Uber accounts. that they can just use when they get to Ghana. And that's great because we're used to paying here with card. You can do that. But just a little side note, if you have a card on your account, 9 times out of 10, those drivers are not going to come pick you up. And the reason I had to learn this the hard way, I kept getting canceled on. With Uber in Ghana, the way their platform works is when you pick up a rider and they're paying with cash, they pay you with the cash, and whatever Uber fees are associated to your account as a driver, you are supposed to go to the Uber office to go pay those fees. A lot of the drivers are not paying when they're supposed to pay. And so what happens is that their account is in a negative. So whenever they get riders who are paying with card, they use it to deduct from whatever the driver owes. And because the drivers don't want that situation, they don't want Uber taking that money, they don't like to pick up riders who are using their card to pay. We learned this because a driver shared it with us. And I also know this for a fact because when I drove for that one day, I saw the way the platform was set up. And I saw that that's why they kept canceling our requests with our credit card attached to it. Because once Uber takes the money, the driver doesn't have access to that money because they're going to use it to deduct whatever that driver owes. And if that driver is not ready to pay those fees, they're not trying to have that money go to Uber.
If you are already familiar with using rideshare or are planning to use rideshare as a form of transportation in Ghana, here is the most important tip you need to know.
Always double check the license plate. Take your time and double check. I keep reminding people, always look out for yourself. We want you to be safe and we want you to enjoy being in Ghana, but you gotta take your safety upon yourself, all right? That's pretty much it from my experience with transportation in Ghana, and hopefully that might help you have an idea of how you want to move around when you're in Ghana, because it is important. It's going to make a difference on the quality of your trip or your stay. It's going to make a difference on your safety. So make the best decision for yourself. So that is it for this vlog. As always, guys, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.